Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we get to sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players and related music industry experts. If you love playing guitar, stick around. You're in the right place.
Okay, take two.
Take two. All right. Hey, everybody. This is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar with the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast. Today, we're going to show some love to the rhythm section. I've got a really cool, very sharp, up-and-coming drummer, studio musician, and a very active producer, actually. And I'm not saying this to blow smoke up Kyle May's ass, but the way he's moving and the kind of studio and the type of music he's in, it would not surprise me at all to hear his name as a very successful producer of top 40 hits sometime in the next 5 to 7 years at all.
Wow.
So, it's true,
What
man.
an intro.
It's true. Yeah.
I'm going to put this on my website.
We're bad and we're nationwide right here, man. I got Kyle May with me. Very cool dude. Kyle's from Cary, North Carolina. Like I said, he's a working drummer producer in Nashville. He's been in Nashville since 2010. He's worked as a touring and studio drummer as well as a producer and a writer. He's doing lots of production, and we'll talk about that in the interview. Kyle currently plays with Billy Ray Cyrus, April Cry. He's also worked with loads of other cool artists like Kelsey Ballerini, Lacey Cavalier, Seth Alley, Brandon Lane. He's opened up for artists like Rascal Flatts, Thomas Rhett, Lady A, Hunter Hayes, Scotty McCreery, Dwight Yoakam, and loads of other people. And he did a very cool project while he was in college. One of a select 3 people working on the late George Jones's kind of like postpartum biography. Is that a good way to say it? Not postpartum,
yeah,
post
sure.
death. I don't know. Postpartum. No, he wasn't pregnant. He died. Post. What do they call that?
I don't know.
After he died, yeah. Right. Anyway, Kyle's produced multiple albums, EPs, and demos. He currently records from his home studio in the heart of Nashville. And let me tell you, this is not a guy with like 2 turntables and a microphone. He's got a very, we were just talking, and it's like it's a professional studio in there. He's even got like old school normal speakers that people don't have anymore. Well, those are like 10 feet tall too. How'd you get him in there?
Oh, dude, it was a trip, man. It sucked. We actually had to rent a van because me and my buddy, we couldn't fit these things in our car.
Yeah, I didn't know how you fit them in the house.
Yeah, we drove them down from D.C. and we were driving like 40 miles an hour because we had this precious cargo in the back, and you don't want anything to touch these things. And
no.
We rented a van. It was the longest drive of my entire life.
I hear that. And I'll give Kyle's website, on his Instagram. You'll see he looks like a young John Hamm, the guy from Mad Men, with a beard. And he is also into emotionally unavailable brunettes. So if you are an emotionally unavailable brunette listening, you're going to email this young man. He's a catch. Anyway, Kyle.
Oh, my God. Well, thank you for that incredible intro. I'll be happy to share that with the world because that's hilarious.
Man, I really appreciate your time. I know you're really busy, and I was going to say speak to me like we've known each other for 10 years, but we've been speaking like we've known each other for 10 years for the last 40 minutes, so that's all good.
Yeah, man.
Let me ask you something. On your website, and everybody listening, it's Kyle, KYLEW, May, MAY.com. There's a lot of tracks on there that are really good, and I was curious, are you playing all the instruments on that, or just the drums, or how does that work?
Well, okay, so within, like, on the website, I've got like a mixture of demos and like master stuff. So like things that I've done in my attic, and then like in my home studio, and then things that I've done on like Music Row. So I mean, for the most part, like I'm building like a lot of these tracks myself. So I play keys. I've been playing keys since I was 5, playing piano, and I've been playing drums since like 8 or 9, and taking lessons since then too. So like for the most part, I'm programming a lot of that stuff. I'm really big into like making loops, and finding new synth sounds. And we were talking about this earlier, but like I freaking love pop music, and I eat it up. So like everything I do, is just kind of like pop oriented, and I just infuse it with country. Because that's kind of like where the music is at right now. So whenever I'm making a track, the way that I'll start is, I'll start with a couple of loops, I'll get like an acoustic guitar and a vocal from the artist. So I'll get like a voice memo of them singing their song, and it sounds like something. And then I'll put it into Pro Tools, and then they'll give me some like reference tracks. They'll be like, I want it to sound, like Sam Hunt or whatever. And I say, okay, cool. And then I'll start making some loops, and then I'll start programming either piano or some sort of synth thing. And the way that I can keep costs low and be able to do as many tracks as I can at once is sometimes I don't even have. I send these tracks off to like another guitarist. So you had Sam on the podcast, and you're going to have Reed on the podcast. And both of these dudes have an awesome home setup where I can send them this song and they know exactly what the song needs to sound like, where they can just record all their guitar parts, then send me their session, and then I import it into my session. And I don't even have to take the 3 hours of sitting and recording them. Now there's something to be said about being in the room and, having that energy and playing off of each other. But if it's a low budget thing and I just want to get it done fast, then I'll send it off and be like, hey, give me what you got. I'll take it. So for the most part on these tracks, I'll send off for guitars, and then I'll come back and then I'll cut drums, and then I'll kind of add like the risers, just kind of any effects stuff. And then depending on, what kind of track it is, if it needs live bass or something, I'll send that off. And I've got pretty much just one dude I use every time for session stuff because he gets music. We were talking about this earlier, but he knows what I'm thinking every time, whether we're playing live together or whether we're playing, in the studio, or even when I just send him these tracks, which are pretty much just loops sometimes, and he knows exactly where I want to go with the song, and he can do it, and it's awesome, and he gets it to me in one take, and I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome, but it's really annoying at the same time because you're so good. But I'll either send it off to him or I'll program a bass line. And then I've got another dude that I use pretty much exclusively who, is kind of like in this studio with me. And he mixes for Kelsey Ballerini, but he is a very creative mixer. So as soon as I finish the track, and then I'll have the artist come over or whoever, and we'll cut vocals. And then after that, I'll tune and do all of that. I'll send it to my buddy, and he'll start mixing, and he's a very creative mixer. So he's not just pushing faders and making it sound like something. The way that he uses delays and different effects and different verbs, and the way that he automates is just, he makes all of these demos sound like they should be on the radio, and it's really incredible. And I'll never take him for granted because he does such a freaking good job, especially when I'm paying him like shit, and he spends so much time to make these things sound so awesome. And then after that, we've got a song, and so like some of the stuff I do up here, we can put it out, we can release it, because anything you can buy, or you can pretty much buy anything that you see in a studio now. So like our mic selection, we spend a lot of time on our mics, on our gear, on our plugins, because we're getting really close to having the ability to make it sound like it's coming out of, a $10 million studio, which is, kind of how I'm catering myself right now. I'm about to work on an EP that we're just going to cut up here in the attic, piecemeal it together, and it's going to be great. So to answer your question, I am playing a lot of stuff on these tracks, but it's definitely not a one-man show. Like some of these ideas are mine, but a lot of the ideas that come in, they're all of these other dudes that I'm working with. And the way that I work, I cannot be micromanagey, because that just totally kills the creativity. It's like going to a studio too, and you've got like an ugly vibe, or it smells bad or something, that affects it. And that goes with who I choose to play when I'm producing. Based on the budget, that also depends on like who I choose to come play with me, because if they're going to be a killer player but have a bad attitude, or if I just know they don't work well with this person, like why would I have you come play and just spoil the energy, because I'm very big on just vibes and having good energies in the room. And that's why most of the dudes I have play with me are all of like some of my closest friends, which means a ton to me that I can have so many fucking talented friends and they make me seem a lot better than I really am. So yeah, that was a very long-winded answer to the first question, but yeah.
But you gave a lot of information out. I just want to clarify for people listening. This is like, so anybody that's a baby boomer listening to this, erase everything you know about how music is made, because it doesn't exist anymore.
That's right.
The only bands that are making music like that are baby boomer bands. You know, Government Mule just came out with a new album. There 4 of them are in the studio, or the 5 of those guys, whatever they are, in the studio. Guys that are baby boomers are in the studio, but the new way of making music is not like that. And it's been like this for actually probably about 5 to 10 years, if I'm not mistaken, no?
Yeah, probably. I mean, maybe even before that, because even when you had, you know, these hard disk recorders, you still are multi-tracking and you're still kind of building stuff from the ground up. But yeah, it's so many more just kind of what they call track guys now. When you're writing with somebody, you're writing a song and you're building this track as you write it. So when you walk out, you kind of have a fully produced demo by the time you're done writing a song. And that's just because everybody just has to move so quickly now if you want to stay current and relevant. There are still times when you go into the studio and you have a band of 6 guys, but you'll still do overdubs. And then at the end of the day, I'll still take it home and I'll add, you know, additional programming and just kind of make it my own. But yeah, it's not just really, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you might listen to like Chris Stapleton's record and you're like, yeah, this was amazing. They just cut this in the studio and that was that.
But the way music is going now, and I think this is on stage too, because you're having tracks on stage because people don't have to take out so many people.
Yeah, exactly. You're saving a lot of money.
Right. And so, you know, there's a band I listen to, a stoner rock band. I listen to a lot of stoner rock music, believe it or not. I'm not a stoner, but I like that psychedelic, trippy guitar stuff. And a lot of it comes out of the Netherlands, funny enough. I mean, there's just a massive concentration in that area. And there's a band called Truck Fighters, and they made they do their own record production. They're on the Fuzzorama label, and they came out with a documentary about their production. And this is 5 years ago I watched it, and it's exactly what you said. That, you know, one guy lives here, he gets the bass track, and the other guy gets the drums, and they just upload an MP3, and someone mixes it and masters it.
Yeah,
and,
right.
That's a real, it's like it's just a dramatically different way for people of my generation to think of me. It's like thinking of having a cell phone. That wasn't a reality, 25 years ago. And now all of a sudden you couldn't be without one. But it's
right.
It's really interesting. Let me ask you this. You mentioned that like an artist will come to you. So day one, you just got into Nashville. I wouldn't imagine anybody knew who Kyle May was. How did you get to the point, and what things did you do to get to the point where you had some recognition, where now the phone rings and people say, hey, I'd like you to work on this?
I was saying yes to everything that was offered to me. So, I got to town and I went to school here. So I'll kind of claim my day one as the day I graduated from college. Well, I mean, that's not entirely true, because pretty much the relationships that I have were built from day one that I got here, when I went to school, and like being in the music program and meeting the people that I met, and then getting out of school. All of these dudes that want to work hard and tough it out, like they're all going to get gigs, and they're going to recommend me for stuff, and I'm going to recommend them for stuff. And like we toughed it out when we got out of school, and I'm still toughing it out. Like it's still a struggle, but I wouldn't change it for anything, because I love what I do. So, when I got out of school, I was saying yes to everything. The very first girl I played with the summer I got out of school was this young. I think she was like 15 at the time, but But we literally, me, Reed, and Zach, and this dude Ben Bruce, who I use all the time, we hopped in a van, and we went out with this girl, and like her parents would drive the van, and we would go play these shit shows in Kentucky, and then eventually she kind of worked her way up, and we started opening for cooler people. And then once that stopped for the summer, I was like, well, I got to figure out how to do some work. So you kind of just have to get ballsy, and like if I would go to a writer's round, or if I heard songs that I would really like, I would just go up and approach people and be like, hey, I really like this song, or I like what I heard. If you don't have a producer, or if you need demos made or whatever, hit me up. And then me, Reed, and Zach, we started a production company, and we were just trying to advertise it. And we still knew people in school, so we knew a lot of people that were trying to be an artist or be famous, or whatever people come to town to do. And so what we would do is say, okay, we're going to try and capitalize on this. If you need music made, come to us. We'll make your music, and we have music to show for it. So it's not like you're going to come to us and get shit made. And the problem is we've experienced being burned too. So we've experienced all of the shit people in town, and we were like, well, we don't want to do that. We really just want to make music, and if we can make money at the same time, I mean, that's a win-win. So that's what we attempted to do. And then by the time, so that winter we were working, and then after that, Reed got on a really cool gig, and then Zach started to get busy, and then I just started to do, more production stuff. And I started to record a little bit more, and I started to do the home studio, like recording tracks from my home and send them off to people. And so our company kind of disbanded, but the best part to that was I still get to use them every day because of how music is made now. Like, I can still do my tracks and then send it to them. Like, Reed can be on the bus and be recording guitar for me and send it back to me, and I can have a turnaround so quickly. But all that to say, in the first, even up until now, these first 3 or 4 years, I've been saying yes to everything. I've played the worst gigs, and I've played some really, really cool and really fun gigs. I remember I played in like Missouri, playing on a tractor trailer bed for a mud run, and we didn't know that many songs, and we played Sweet Home Alabama 3 times because they wanted a 2-step song.
Wow.
And I didn't even know what that meant. And I was like, okay, well, I guess we're just going to keep playing this. And it was for, 30 people that are just drunk off their asses and barely made a full set of teeth. But, I made money that weekend, and I paid my rent. And so that's pretty much been my goal, is as long as I can, eat and pay rent, I really don't need to do anything else. I remember I got out of school, and I was so worried about money, and I applied at Panera, and I worked at Panera for 3 days, and I quit on the 3rd day because it was so bad. And I was like, you know what? I don't need money. I'm just going to be poor because this sucks. It was the worst thing. I mean, I love Panera, but I hated working there so bad. Yeah, so, I mean, all that to say, when, if you get to town, like, just take everything, and that's how you get known, and be a nice freaking person. Don't be a douche.
So it sounds like you just used good old-fashioned hustle, took every opportunity, probably charged a little bit of money, and then as you got better and more well-known, you slowly started raising your rates, and the quality of your work was commensurate with the amount of money they were paying you. In fact, you were probably over-delivering.
Yeah, that's right.
And then, so now you keep, okay, so that's great. So it's basically, the early bird, make hay while the sun's shining, hustle, the early bird catches the worm, whatever adage you want. But that's, I didn't realize that, I didn't realize that when I say it's that simple, the work and what you do is not simple, but the formula really is pretty simple. And it's just having the willingness to do it, because when you're sitting on a trailer in Missouri, that's probably not what you envision yourself, but you had the discipline to know, hey, it's today, tomorrow's another day, and that's right. It takes a lot of mental toughness, I think.
And the thing, and that's exactly what it is. Like some people aren't built for, to do that. And I'm not saying I'm like some tough dude that can, go out there and just do whatever, but you do have to be able to you have to be okay with the risk that it takes to go and do that. I don't know. I never knew how I was going to pay rent every month. And so sometimes I still don't. But you have to be okay with that. And then you have to be comfortable enough to know that, okay, well, if I can't do it this month, then I just have to go, work at Starbucks for a little bit and, figure life out. But some people can't handle that risk just yet. And they just want to make money, which I totally get. But I mean, they say, what do they say Nashville is? Is it a 3-year town or a 5-year town? Depends on what you're doing. But playing, these really tough gigs for 3 years, now I finally have a decent gig. I'm able to say no to some stuff, and I'm able to produce exactly what I want. And then when people come to me who I love their music, I can cut them deals to make music for them, because I don't have to be like, well, I need this amount because I'm really short on cash and blah, 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 blah. So you just kind of have to do it. And that's the best advice that I can really give anybody, is just take the gig and just do it. And then be happy about it too. Like, you play music for a living. Like, that's a cool thing. Right. Like, love what you do.
I think that's a really mature attitude, and it's just some discipline, and it's really hard, I think, when you're in that position. But the reality is, you said you're 26, right?
Yeah, just turned 26. Yeah,
right. It's a blip on the radar screen for a few years, and the time where you could afford to have the blip going on when it comes down to it. So if you bitching about it now, just go back home is the reality of it. Because if you can't handle it now with no responsibility, no kids, no unemotionally available brunettes tying you down.
God, story of my life.
So what are you working on now that I know you got a lot of stuff going on we talked about. What are you working on now that you're most excited about?
Yeah, so I mean, for the most part, like my kind of day-to-day stuff is, just producing demos. I've got 2 guys that I produce a lot for, that are writers in town, because you've got all these publishing houses, they've got all their writers, and they need their demos done. So I'm trying to capitalize off of that. And so when I get time, there's this really cool chick, and I freaking love her music. I produced her first album with Reed and Zach and a couple of other dudes. And we went to the studio for that, and we cut, I think it was like 7 songs in one day, which was so much fun, which we had to prepare for, because that's like 45 minutes a song, and that's not a lot of time when you've got an artist that's like, well, are you even paying attention? Like, why is this going so quickly? But really, it's just that we prepared, we know our skill level, and we're ready to do this. But but this chick, her name's Cece Hetrick, and we're starting to work on another EP, and it's one of these projects where she's just like really easygoing and has these cool songs, and I kind of just get to do what I want with them. And I'm not turning her into something that she's not, but it's just like, hey, I have this song, can you make it? Can you just record it? And I'm like, yeah, okay, it kind of sounds like this. What do you think about that? She's like, oh, yeah, okay, cool, let's do it. And for this project, we're kind of doing the piecemeal together up in my home studio. Just, it's going to be low budget, but it's going to be one of these things where I'm super passionate about it. So I'm really excited for it. So hopefully it'll be out at the end of the summer. Got another.
It's CC. Two initials, CC, Hetrick. CECE, okay, and then the way you spelled Hetrick was right. Great, CECE Hetrick, great. And is she the artist? Is she the writer of the songs on those?
Yeah, she's an artist.
Okay.
And me and all of our buddies, I mean, we all went to school with her, and so we're all just friends. But
cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool how it all comes together. And like same thing, like I produced something for Katie Baisden just because she was our friend at school. and me, Reed, and Zach worked on our thing. And like when we were in school, like you get free studio time. Like like you can go to Ocean Way and record whenever there's not a session going there. You can get into Music Row and go record. And so instead of us going out and drinking on the weekends, we would go freaking make music. And it's not like you can't have fun, but you should be having fun when you're making music.
Yeah,
so
right.
that should be what you want to do. And so that's what we would do. And that's why we got good. And that's why we're doing all right now, because we took it seriously, but we still had fun. So that's another thing. So like with Katie, we just started making music for her because we really enjoyed her. And then she got on The Voice and started doing shit. And then people started like listening to her and pay attention. So that's why I like making music for friends, because you never know what they're going to do. And then you're going to that was kind of your baby. You're like, oh, well, I had a part in that. That's cool that people actually like it now. And that's kind of how I've been working and how I like to work, which is another reason I've got this pop project with 2 other dudes. It's called the Neon Ninjas. And it's just us dicking around making music that we love. It's not necessarily going to be music that we think everybody is going to be like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. I can't believe, blah. But it's something that we just like to do. It's just kind of like writing without rules. And then we make this pop music that we just enjoy playing and listening to. And if other people want to listen to it, cool. And if not, at least we had fun doing it.
Sure.
And I think that's how I've just been able to like keep my sanity, is because I still listen to what people want, but I also just do what I want, because that's the reason you come to me, or that's the reason you know me, is because you know me because of this, and that's why you want to hire me. So that's what I'm going to do, if that makes any sense.
I don't know if that domain is available. You should grab that, Neon Ninjas. It's a cool name.
It's so funny. My buddy who came up with that, he was literally like, what was he doing? I think I'm going to tell this story wrong, but he just he was just coming up with the worst thing. And our little logo thing is so funny. I think he did it in Paint, and he just like started writing with his opposite hand and was like, okay, that's our logo now. It looks like a child wrote our freaking name. But that's the thing, is like, okay, we have fun. That's stupid. Let's roll with it and see what happens.
I hear you. Well, good luck with it, man. I hope it works out well. But you said your company with you and Sam and Reed broke up. How come? Just because you guys got pulled in different directions?
Well, it was me, Reed, and Zach.
Okay.
So Zach is the bass player.
Okay, yeah.
And so Reed got the gig with Kelsey Ballerini,
Mm-hmm.
and so he ended up going on the road a ton. And then Zach has like 3 different bands that he plays for,
Okay.
and so he travels a bunch. So as much as we wanted to keep it together, I was like, and we were splitting everything, a third. And at a point, which I don't fault them for at all, but I was just doing a little bit more work than I really wanted to, and then we were still splitting everything equally. And I was like, you know what? Let's just disband. And honestly, what it was, it really wasn't that. I don't know how to run a company. I have a music degree,
Right.
and so being an entrepreneur and like being a freelancer is really kind of difficult, dealing with taxes. So I had set up an LLC for us. I'd gotten a business license, but I did not know what I was doing. And so when it came to file taxes, and I was like, I don't really know how to report any of this shit, and this is really confusing. And then I didn't have any money to go pay a tax guy to figure this out. I barely had money to, buy TurboTax for us to submit our taxes.
Sure, man, I feel you.
And so that was really the biggest issue. And I was like, you know what? We don't really need to do this. I'm not making enough money where the IRS is going to come looking for me,
Right.
because I didn't report this correctly. So I'm just going to do this on my own, and I'm going to keep using you guys because they're incredible and they're my best friends, and I hang out with them every day. And so I just didn't see the point in trying to keep this thing that was stressing me out afloat. So that's that was, I guess, the demise or the downfall of it, was mainly just because we do live in a great nation, but they also make it really difficult for you to work sometimes. But I wouldn't be able to do what I do without, being here and being being a freelancer. I can literally, and especially being in Tennessee, a right to work state, I can work for whoever I want, whenever, and it's awesome.
It sounds like it was pretty made sense what you're saying, because they got pulled in different directions, and the fact that you're still using them, and I'm sure you're paying them for it, so it sounds really cool.
Oh yeah.
What where are you originally from? Where'd you grow up?
I moved around a bunch. My dad was not in the military, as everybody asks. He was in agriculture, which I don't know why we had to move so much, but we lived, I was born in Minnesota, lived there for like 2 years, moved to Kansas City. I started taking drum lessons in Kansas City from a big jazzer, jazz dude. I don't even know if he's still alive anymore, but just really cool black dude who just turned me on to jazz. And that, that was that. And I was, taking piano lessons there as well. And so in Kansas City, it was cool because there was a decent jazz scene. I mean, I think his album was like the first album I bought in like 3rd grade. And by album, CD, but you get it.
What was it? And what was the name of his group?
I'm pretty sure it was just the Sam Johnson Jr. Trio. And I don't even know if, iTunes was out yet. I mean, I know there was like the illegal like Kazaa and LimeWire and all that
Napster.
shit. Yeah, exactly. So you could get like the shitty MP3.
That's what I heard anyway.
But you did. That's right. yeah. But I don't even know if you had things like TuneCore or CD Baby to be able to get your stuff onto iTunes or onto the internet. Because I remember I was still buying MP3s from Walmart, and then whenever they stopped doing that, like all of my licenses just ceased to exist. So I had spent hundreds, maybe $1,000 buying songs, and then when they stopped selling music, all my licenses for this music disappeared. And that was kind of my first glimpse into like, hey, this whole thing is kind of messed up. So but anyways, okay, so Kansas City got taught by a really cool dude. I ended up moving to Germany, moved back to Kansas City, and then I moved to North Carolina. In North Carolina, I started taking from this dude, Will Goodyear, who actually taught the drum line at the high school. And he was a cool dude. He turned me on to some cool shit that I wouldn't have thought of, especially because we were playing, some different time signature stuff, which, I never knew anything about that. And then so in high school, I did the marching band stuff. I did, I auditioned for like the All-State Jazz Band, the All-State Orchestra, All-State Concert Band, did all of that. And, we talked about this earlier just before we started recording, but we were kind of talking a little bit about influences, and like, you were naming drummers like John Bonham and Neil Peart, and I was like, man, I never listened to any of those dudes, and I get shit for it a lot here, just because they're like, well, that this fill comes from the, and I'm like, okay, yeah, but did I play it right? Does it sound good? Does it matter if I know where it comes from? Right. And 9 times out of 10 it doesn't, but I also don't want to be a dick about it and be like, dude, just use your ears, listen.
You must know Ginger Baker though, because he was fundamentally a jazz, or maybe you don't, jazz drummer before he became like and even when he was the guy that played the drummer for Cream, Eric Clapton's old band. You ought to check him out sometimes. He's basically a jazz drummer, phenomenal.
And man, there are so many people just like that I just do not know.
Interesting.
I feel dumb, but I don't know.
Cool documentary on Netflix. It's something like "Excuse Me, Mr. Baker," because he's like completely fucked up and insane. And, well, I mean, he's just like really.
Aren't we all?
Well, no, he's just like really, really fucking angry, and one of those like insane like that way. Yes, we all are insane, but he's just like a little. When you get into that anger, and it's just that's a new level. But but he was a great drummer. But it's interesting that I notice when you play now. Don't think about this when you play now, but I watch some of your videos. Your whole physiology is like completely locked into the groove.
Yeah.
That was really interesting because, I mean, it was almost like you're possessed by the time signature, which is like the best thing you can ask for in a drummer. But
sure, thanks.
But it was really like your whole. Are you aware of that? I mean, is that a deliberate, or I mean, is that just? Do you know what I'm even talking about, or is it?
I do. I know exactly. And in the beginning, it was a conscious thing that I had to do, and now it's just second nature. It's just what happens when I play, and it's made me a better player because of it. In school, when I was playing for people, like they would say, why don't you look happy when you're playing drums? And I'm like, well, close your eyes and listen. Like, can you hear like how good like the music is or whatever? And I'm like, man, and I was just kind of full of myself, I guess. And then I got out of school and like I started playing for real people, and they were like, dude, you need to look like you're enjoying this. So then as soon as I started moving, and I was like, oh, okay, well, actually I'm starting to feel better.
Too much
because
damn vanity. There's too much. You got to look like this. That's kind of stressful.
As soon as I started getting into it, then I actually was enjoying it a lot more than I had been before. So that's kind of what it is. And like and honestly, when you're moving, like when every part of your body is into it, then you're just kind of completely engulfed by the music. And it's just that's just it. I don't want to be thinking about anything else when I'm playing. And so if doing this weird thing with my mouth is going to make me play this song better, then, whatever, fuck it. Or if like being hunched over the drum kit or using more arm than wrist or, whatever, if it's going to benefit the music, that's what I'm all about. So eventually I, started listening back and I was like, man, it sounds a lot better when I play the cymbal like this, but it means I have to look like this or whatever. And that's kind of comes from the drum kit setup too. Like the way I set up a drum kit is pretty traditional. I've gone through very different phases of how do I want my cymbals to be tilted? What sizes do I want on which side? Where do I want my toms? Do I want 2 toms? Do I want 4 toms? Or whatever, but the whole way I process it is just what is going to benefit the music. So if I'm going to move around and that makes the music better, then that's what I'm going to do. And people comment all the time. They're like, dude, you look like you are having so much fun when you're playing the drums. And I'm like, yeah, I am, because playing the drums is really, really fun. So I'm glad it translates, and I'm glad you noticed that. So I appreciate that.
No, man, I was like, that's the guy you want behind the drum kit. You were your whole body was like totally locked in, and like, that's interesting because I would never, and that's maybe because I'm not in a group setting like that, but I would never, how you look, I mean, unless someone looks like absolutely miserable, that really wouldn't enter my mind. I was just, I want to listen to that guy who's so locked into what he's doing. I don't give a shit how he looks. I want to hear good music, And
sure.
if he's sitting on a stove, I don't really care. I want to hear good music, So
I get that.
You started drumming really early.
Yeah.
Did you know you wanted to be a drummer that early, or when did the dime drop and suddenly, you know what, this is what I'm going to do, man?
No, that was it. Like as soon as I started taking lessons, and then teachers would comment, they're like, "Yeah, he's got it." That was it. That's all I wanted to do. I loved drawing, and I've always been creative, but drumming just came so naturally. And of course, I didn't know how the music industry worked, so I was like, I want to be a studio drummer, and I just thought that I would get hired by a recording studio, and then I would just sit there all day and play music for the rest of my life. But I quickly found out that's not how this business works, and I still want to do that. I also love producing. I love being on the road too, but it's taxing. It's a little unnatural to be in a different town every single day, Yeah. And I mean, I really enjoy it. I truly do, and I'm going to do it for as long as I can, as long as like my body will let me. But I think my heart is in, recording,
production,
drumming, And producing, yeah. There's just something about just, creating stuff from the ground up. But then again, there's nothing like playing for an audience that knows your music. Like when I'm playing with Billy and people know his music, like that's it. It is so enjoyable. Like, and you look out in the crowd and they're singing along with friggin' Achy Breaky Heart as we're playing it for the millionth time. Like that's, it's cool. It's really, really cool. So there's something about that energy that you really don't get anywhere else, but it just depends on what you want to do. And I'm pretty sure like that's kind of where my heart and soul lie is, being home and being in the studio and making music.
Well, the fact that you knew you wanted to be a drummer from such a young age, man, I'm so happy for you because you're literally living your dream. So honestly, man, that is just fucking awesome. I'm really happy that you get to do that. That's great. You should feel great because so few people have a vision, but to have it and then actually live it, it's just really awesome. Right. And I'm happy for you.
And that's why I like supporting these, these artists that if they have good music and they're trying to follow their dream, of course I'm going to come play for you. If you can't pay me, if you pay me, $10 and I'm free that night and I love your music, I'm probably going to play with you because that's how much I love music. And anybody that wants to chase their dream, I'm going to try and support you as much as I can because I think we owe it to ourselves. We're going to die soon, so why not have fun, right?
I hear that, man. How'd you get the gig with Billy Ray?
Man, it was that kind of it happened so randomly. I met his MD on the road with another chick that we were playing for. And like for
MD, music director.
Yeah, musical director. Yeah, that's right. Or band leader. I think this is band leader. But I had for like the past year, I've just kind of had random auditions for different artists, up and comers or like very established acts. And I've been going in there and, I play true to myself. I play the music, but I also play what I want to play. So if you give me songs to learn, I'm going to learn it like the record, and then I'm going to make it sound, like Kyle. Man, and that's not to say and that's not to say like I'm trying to like change it up or like, put so many different twists in it. But all that to say, I'd been auditioning for people and getting turned down a bunch. A lot of the comments were like I was too young and too hip. So I didn't really know.
What does that mean?
Craig, I really don't know.
You need to show up in like a fucking 3-piece suit with a, top hat. And
I don't know. I'm walking into these auditions looking like everybody else, but I don't fucking know. Okay. But anyways, so I have been
that's like, that makes, you should say, hey, can you clarify that?
Yeah.
No, seriously, I would next time. It's like saying, I don't even understand that. Yeah. You're in a band. What do they want? Like,
yeah. So I had been doing all those auditions, and then literally I'm in sound check for another girl that I'm playing for, and I'm about to like leave the hotel room to go to sound check, and I get the call from the MD, and he's like, "Yo, so do you want to play for Billy?" And I was like, yeah, I do. That's awesome.
Wait, that would twist my arm.
Yeah, and it's so funny that I get a call from an artist like that whose music is, a year younger than I am. So talk about being too young and hip. But,
right.
It's cool. I really enjoy playing for him, and I'm still fresh to it. I've only been with him for a month, and we really haven't played a lot. But I think it's perfect for me because I'm getting experience with an artist that is well known and an artist that's really freaking nice.
That's cool.
And he is just genuinely happy to be on stage playing music. And that's the exact way that I feel. And so to be with somebody who's like, I'm not on this stage to make a shit ton of money. I'm not on this stage for any other reason but to make music with people that I like and to make people feel good by them listening to my music. And so I think that's really cool because he doesn't need to tour. He's got money. Right. So he's touring because he wants to. And it's the perfect gig, at least for me, for right now, because it's not a lot of dates, which is great because then I get to be home and I get to work on my, producing, and I get to, play drums from home. And then I still have time for all of these other artists that I love playing for, because we're talking about April, who is, up and coming, and this other chick, Maddie Larkin. I freaking love her music, and they're going to start touring as well. So I want to try and play with as many people as possible. But the Billy thing, man, it came out of the blue, and I was like, yeah. And there was just no audition, and it was surreal. I didn't even know if it was happening until we showed up at rehearsal, and he was there, and I was like, okay, this is it. We're doing this because
how did that feel?
Honestly, like as soon as he walked in and he was like really chill and we started playing through the music and he was really flexible with what everybody was playing, like he wanted a young band. All of us that are in there are, I'm pretty sure I'm the youngest one. And then everybody else, is probably 30s. But he, we played the songs. He's like, man, y'all, this is really fun. And we were like, okay. He's like, all right, see you at the show. And we were like, okay. So it just,
but how did that feel? What was the processing you were going through in your head? Like you walk in there and last week, somebody who, was where Billy Ray Cyrus was 23 years ago said, oh, I can't have you because you're too hip looking, which probably, I'm sure you're at the point in time where you're not going home being suicidal about something like that.
Yeah,
you just kind of take it in stride, fuck it, whatever it is. But now, right. 3 days later, you're sitting there with a multi-million hit selling artist that's extremely well known, that is really happy that you're in that room. What's going through your head as this is going on as a young guy that, is making your way?
Well, I made sure to remind myself that I work really hard. And so whatever this turns out to be, I deserve it. Whatever comes my way, I believe, not to be, self-fulfillment or whatever, but I believe like this is, what I deserve to do, which is why I say yes to almost everything I can. I'll still cherry pick gigs because I can't afford to go to Arkansas for $100 anymore, which, I've done. Right. I did that in the past. But I can't afford to do that anymore. So, being in there as a young dude, I was like, man, this is, I've done my time. I've done my van gigs. I'm not saying that those will stop coming. And honestly, I don't advertise the Billy gig a ton either because I don't want people to think, I don't want to like rock star anybody, like in terms of like be too cool for school because I have a namesake gig. I want people to still want me to play for them because I still want to play for them too.
Right.
But being in the room and having him just like really happy, I was like, this. I literally just thought to myself, I was like, I guess this is it. It's really, I just happen to know the right people at the right time because I'm not doing anything differently. I'm still playing drums the way I've always played drums. I'm still acting the same way. It's just that I now have this. So it really wasn't much different than going into any other rehearsal other than the fact that a dude is about to walk in who's worth millions of dollars and knows and has had a lot of singles and has played a lot of shows for millions of people, and that was really the only difference. So it felt pretty good, and I worked really hard, prepping for that gig. I only had about a week to prep, so I learned 16 songs.
Wow, that's in a week.
Yeah,
Holy
and I mean,
shit.
And sometimes people have done a lot more in less time, but
yeah, but don't discredit yourself. That's a lot. That's a lot of music. That's two songs, two and change songs a day with no break.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I wanted to know him as best as I could. I wanted to do a good job, and that's the way I treat every gig. Is I treat it like it's it's like my dream gig. And that's why, and that's kind of why I play the way I do, because I want people to know that I'm taking them seriously, because I do. Even if we're playing, at Buffalo Wild Wings for 10 people, this is still a gig, because if I get in a car wreck and I can't play drums anymore, then that Buffalo Wild Wings show that I hated being at is like my last memory of playing drums, and that would suck, and I would hate myself for acting that way.
I give you credit, because I think there's a lot of uncharacteristic things about all those thoughts that you have to process at a young age, and I really give you credit, because you seem like you're doing a really good job of it. And I think that's difficult at 26 to have so many different messages and to understand and find your place in all of them, where you're satisfied with you and you're being genuine, and the outside world is satisfied with your behavior as well, because I think it's a very hard thing to do in general, but to do when you're 26, I think, and I keep saying like there's something wrong with it. I don't mean that.
No, I get it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a lot, and I give you a lot of credit for that, because it's I certainly couldn't do that at 26. I can tell you that much. But I think you're doing a really good job of it, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Do you know who Warren Haynes is?
Warren Haynes, probably.
Okay, so Warren is the guitar player for a band called Government Mule, and he was with the Allman Brothers for about 20 years. And he's like, they call him the hardest working guy in show business. He's probably on the road, 300 days a year with 3 or 4 different bands. Anyway, I'm a big fan of Government Mule and Warren's, and I actually saw the Allman Brothers. I've seen Warren with the Mule about 4 or 5 times, and I once read an interview with him where he said the best thing you can do to become a better guitar player is to learn how to play the drums. And I actually played the drums as a kid, but never long enough to understand what he meant by that. And I want to know, as a drummer, what is your perspective on this, and why do you think he said that?
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I can get behind that. So probably a couple of things. One, if you know how to play drums, you know how to communicate with a drummer. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves, is playing for people who don't know how to communicate with me, because I work, pretty hard to understand what everybody else is playing. Like when I say yes to a show and they send me the songs, I'll chart them out, so that way when we're at rehearsal, if I hear something, or if I hear something wrong, I know how to communicate and say, hey, we played a 5. I think we're supposed to play a 4 there, or something like that, which doesn't affect me because I'm not playing a harmonic instrument. Okay, so you're talking about chords. So even though as a drummer you have to know chord changes and music, you have to know music and what's okay. Yeah, exactly, because that's how the guitarists and the keyboardists are all going to talk to each other, and they're going to say, hey, let's start at this section where we have this split bar of, whatever. And so I have to, I want to know where that is, because if I don't, and then I'm like, oh, hey guys, like, where are we starting again? Could you tell me, is it on this 8-bar phrase? Is it like where we're doing boom, chicka boom, type of thing? Yep. I don't want to do that. I want to be in the know, because I want to work efficiently, to get us to, to make better music. So that's why, I chart everything out, and I'm going to know exactly what everybody's playing, which is why he probably said that, learn drums so you know what the drummer's doing, so you listen to him and you can know what his kick pattern is doing. Same reason like bass players and drummers lock in, because we've got that kick pattern and we try and play the same grooves. And honestly, when I am so I guess this first part was communication. The second part is when I'm producing a track and I'm looking for a guitar player, I always start with somebody that can groove. So if somebody has a really good time and can feel the song really well, that's the first check off my list. Then second, of course, is going to be, tone and note choice. I have never hired anybody because they can shred. nobody hires me because I can chop out. One, because I can't chop out, and two, I have no desire to, because the music that I want to play doesn't require that.
Right.
And there are so many other people that can do it way better than me, so why should I try? But with some of the best advice I got from one of my drum teachers was, the majority of the calls you're going to get are going to be for songs where you're going to be playing 4 on the floor the whole time. So why wouldn't you be the best 4 on the floor player there is? So I practice 4 on the floor and locking it up, because I don't want the snare drum to be flamming with the kick drum. I want the hi-hat to be in time every time. If it needs to swing a little bit, I need to know what that feels like. And I need to play it at every tempo, because if I am at a show and they call a tune, I want to have played that groove before I am required to play it on a gig. You know what I mean? It's just prepping yourself. So when it comes to choosing guitar players, I want them to have a great feel. So that's why people like Sam, I don't know if, people aren't even going to know me, and people don't know Sam, people don't know Reed, but when you listen to those songs that we put out, I mean, it's not bad music. I'm not going to blow my own horn, but it's good music. Like, it's good, and it's because we pay attention to those types of things. So when we're recording, we'll zoom in on the grid and we'll say, okay, where are your transients lining up on the grid? And are they behind the beat, or are they in front of the beat? Or do you rush this downbeat at the beginning of this bar or after a solo? Or, what is happening? Like, and we just try and analyze it so we can get better. And I think I like to say that's a good quality of myself, and what I try to find in other people. Like, if you are constantly trying to better yourself, then I will hire you, more often than, the other guy who's just naturally talented, because I know that you're going to put good time and effort into what I'm asking you to do, which means the world to me. When I use Sam and Reed, they always go above and beyond for me, and it's awesome. So that's why I want people like that.
You said, just to clarify, 4 on the floor, that means the bass drum gets hit on all 4 beats, correct? What is
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what that means.
Okay.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry. If I'm throwing like any like kind of like random lingo out, just stop me and ask me what that means. No,
it's all good, man. Yeah. That's cool. I appreciate you explaining it. I was shocked though when you said I need, the first thing I need is a guitar player that, or the reason he said that was you need to have someone that can groove. I would just assume that anybody that's at the professional level can, but obviously that's not. Some are better than others. It's probably the best way to say it. No?
Yeah. I mean, that's right. Some are better than others. There are some people that can choose the coolest notes in a solo to play, but if you rush that solo, then you make the drums and the bass sound bad, and then after that, you make the song sound bad. And it's the same thing with like with the singer. If the singer is going to rush the beat, like, I don't really care if you sing a little bit out of tune, but if it feels good, like that's where I enjoy music, is something that feels awesome. So that's exactly why I choose a guitar player that can groove. Yeah.
What if you weren't doing what you're doing now? This is probably a very hard question to answer, because this has been in your mind for virtually your entire life. If you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would you be doing instead, do you think? Besides Panera, as alluring as that
is. I've never thought about that. I think maybe on a subconscious level, I've purposely not thought about that, because if I had a plan B, then I probably wouldn't have taken the risks that I've taken to do music. I guess in terms, since I'm, a creative, I'd probably be doing something creative. I would probably be in the music industry somewhere, whether it be like A&R or I don't know about management. But I'm really not sure. I've never thought about it, just because I kind of I go with the flow on so many things, and that's why anything that comes across my desk, that's why I harp on just saying yes to so many things, because it can take you anywhere. And that's why I really haven't needed to have a plan B.
Good. That's good. I'm kind of similar to that, actually. I don't like, although if somebody asked me that question, if you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would you be doing? I'd love to be a professional guitar player. Funny enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah, but in general, I think that it's bad mojo almost to think like that. Like,
right.
You got to be present here, just doing what you're doing, or if you don't like it, just start doing something else. But to be thinking, that's just too much negative stuff up in your head.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's the most important person in your life?
I would probably say all of my musician friends in Nashville. The way that we work, and just, a couple of my closest friends. My buddy Chris plays for Josh Turner and Kelly Pickler. My friend Cease, who I'm producing, and my roommates Webster and Galucky, and all of these dudes that are in the industry that are struggling and experiencing the same things that I'm experiencing. Because when I come home, I get to talk to them about it, and they understand. I talk to my mom every day, but she doesn't get this business. So some of these things that I vent about, just she doesn't have the capability to understand, which is totally fine. And so when I just want to bitch about things, like, they're there. And like, I've got a couple of older friends like Chris who they've done everything that I'm doing right now. So they know what is coming next for me. And you talked about this earlier, like, for me being 26 and like being able to like work the way I do and like be okay with getting turned down from a gig. Like, there is a lot of my I guess emotional capacity is involved with, like, you kind of have to like talk yourself off the ledge in the terms of like this is okay, this isn't the breaking point, this isn't the end. You just keep moving. You're doing cool things. You're making money, and you're doing fine. So you don't to have a group of people that surrounds you that knows that, and knows that you do have to kind of be talked off the ledge of like, hey, this is what you want to do. Because our life right now, or my life, I mean, everyone's lives, they work on a sine wave. You've got ups and downs. And so mine just happened to be a little bit more frequent because I'm an unstable musician, and that's just the way it is. And so, like, to experience, these kind of little existential crises every month, you just have to know how to work with them. And when you have a good community, you get through them a lot faster. And those are the most important people in my life that can listen to me, and then I can return the same favors and give, hopefully, good advice to make sure everybody is going to be able to keep doing what they want to do in terms of, following their dreams.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Just so you know, any entrepreneurial, I've been working for myself for 20 years, any entrepreneurial endeavor, you have that sine wave more often than not. And
yeah,
I always say people that I'll meet and say, what's the most valuable trait you need to have as an entrepreneur? And my response is always your ability to change. Because if you cannot adapt, you're done. You're done in any business, I would say. It's rare the business where, you're just, in nowadays anyway, maybe in the 50s and 60s, you can crank out fucking widgets every day for the rest of your life and never have a blip, but that doesn't happen now. So, that's a real reasonable answer. That's really cool that you got those guys.
Yeah.
What's if you could be a superhero, which one would you be?
Oh my God, I'd love to fly. I think if I could fly, who flies? Superman?
Superman does fly.
Yeah, probably him because, as much as I don't want to travel, I would love to travel. I would love to travel when it's not for work and like go do things. So the faster I could get somewhere to be able to experience things that make me feel good, then that's what I would choose. So,
you know what? No, but I think I hate get on a, I like going away. I hate getting on a plane. For you, it must be like so horrible because it's like it's so old and stale, and it's just
Yeah.
taking up money. It's in a sense slowing down your earning capacity because you're got to go somewhere to get it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I can
And it's
understand that.
funny. It's funny you say that because now that I'm becoming a little bit more established, I charge for that. If you're going to take up a
Good.
day of me traveling for you to go make money, I'm losing that day that I'm not home working. So yeah, unfortunately, but usually everybody understands like, okay, yeah, I get it. You can charge, whatever, to make sure that you don't lose money. But anytime I go work, I refuse to lose money because it defeats the purpose. I mean, minus those gigs where I don't have anything else going on and I want to do it,
Sure.
but that you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think that's pretty. I mean, I've always I'm as on the consulting, and I've always charged when if somebody wants me to go out of town. I think that's pretty normal.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're doing that. Yeah,
Yeah.
You value, and the more you work, and the longer you work, and the more bullshit you get to sort through, the more value you place on your time. So it's
Exactly.
a normal thing. Who's
And those have all sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, and those all have been like awesome learning experiences because the more you kind of learn how each artist works differently, you kind of develop your own skill set of your own negotiating power. So I know my skill set. I know what I can and cannot do. If I'm going to have to work more than what I normally would, I have no problem asking for more money now. And there's been some really cool people in my life that have kind of taught me to value myself. One of my good friends I just met about 6 months ago taught me this because he was really good with his negotiating power and then his communication skills in stating, this is my value, this is what I'm worth. If you don't want to pay me this, then I can't come play for you. And so having that ability and having that power is that's what has kind of allowed me to stay more sane, because then I'm not worried about, well, how much am I going to get paid for this? And am I going to lose money on this now? And it sucks to always have to be thinking about money, but you do.
Especially in the early stages. Yeah, that's totally normal, man. You're building your business.
But I would say, and like anybody that's doing music, like, figure out what your skill set is, figure out why people like you, and then charge accordingly, and don't undervalue yourself because you don't deserve it.
Well, you know what, a good way, for whatever this is worth, if this helps you out, a good way of positioning that is when someone says, well, I don't want to pay that, a really good comeback to that is, hey, not a problem. What do you want me to take out of what we'd agreed to? This way I could do it. Because that makes it like, the only response to that is, well, I guess you're right. If I don't want to pay that, I can't ask you to do the same amount of work. You know what I'm saying? That's what I always do.
Yeah,
I'm like,
interesting perspective.
Well, yeah, come to your own fucking conclusions about it, but don't waste my time,
That's right. Right.
Who's had the biggest influence on you so far?
Like musically or just
on your life in general? You pick.
My life in general? Oh, God. Man. Okay, so I guess one, I'm very different from my parents, but very similar. They have just had a huge influence on my life just for the simple fact that they have been so stupidly supportive of what I want to do. Like, and they don't know music, but they just recognize like this is what he wants to do and what he's got to do. And any time that I've felt like, God, is this right? Am I doing this? Am I doing this for the right reasons? Like, should I still be doing music? Would I be happy doing something else? And they're like, why are you even thinking that? Like, this is what you have to do. And it's not like a calling. I don't feel called to do this. I just know that it feels right. It feels natural. It feels unnatural to be doing anything else. And so to have them be so supportive has kind of, influenced me in a way where I started chasing these things and taking more risks. So I've become more of a risk taker, knowing that I have this, support group of my parents.
That's awesome.
And they helped me, pay for school, but it's not like, you know, it's not like they're paying my rent or buying me groceries or anything, but just knowing that they're there for me is really cool. And then
knowing you're not alone allows you to gives you, I think, a little more confidence and comfort to take calculated risks.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes, of course. And that's the same way with all of my friends too. Like, all of my friends are in this industry. I don't know if I have a friend that is not in the music industry or somehow non-related to it, which, you know, it'd be refreshing if I, you know, didn't have somebody there. But all of my friends, you know, like I said before, they experience the same thing. So that's I guess they're sort of my influences.
Cool. No, that's great. I'm really happy for you. One last question, and we'll wrap it up. I really appreciate your time. Actually, two questions. What are you looking forward to in the future, either musically, professionally, or personally? I know you said this gig with CC Hetrick, Neon Ninjas. Anything else? Any new developments?
Yeah, I mean, if you something pops up on your calendar and you see, you know, if Billy Ray is coming to your town, or if you see April or Maddie or any of these other guys that I'm playing for, like, come out and see us. I'm always excited for shows, no matter how big or how small, and I'll always try and take the time to meet with you and hang out. And that's honestly what I look forward to. I do love traveling for that, because I can meet so many cool people. Like, there are so many times I'm sitting on a flight and I do not want to talk to anybody, but then some dude just starts talking to me and I have a great time, and it's, you know, it's friggin' awesome.
Right.
And so I love meeting people. So I am really looking forward to more shows with Billy and the rest of the artists that I play for. I think Cease's EP is going to be freaking dope, and if nobody listens to it, I will not give a shit, because I'm going to pour my heart and soul into it, because I love music. And, you know, same thing with the Neon stuff. That's more of like our fuck it, like, we're going to do what we want thing, you know, sticking it to the man or whatever. But I'm really,
that's how the Beatles started, man.
Yeah.
No, seriously. I mean, you know, that you gotta. This guy once told me, he said, it happens from momentum. It happens from motion, not motivation. So you actually got to do this shit to make it work, you know. So I think
it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. You could think about it and talk about it all you want, but you know, you got to get moving. Motion is what happens.
That's right.
Hey, Kyle, listen, I really appreciate your time, and I had a lot of fun doing this. You're an awesome guy. I will look forward to talking to you in a couple of years when you got like a whole security team around you. And you know,
oh God,
I'll just text you though. I have your number.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're friends now. So
yeah, man, I'm your first non-music business friend. Hey, everybody, check Kyle May out. His website is kylewmay.com. Check out his Instagram, which is also Kyle W. May. And if any of you are looking at like some remote drumming tracks, he's really good at it. He's got an awesome studio. He's got a lot of stuff on his website you could check out. So he'd probably be a good guy to work with. And it's been a real pleasure talking to you, man. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, man. Likewise. Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. And everybody, I hope you enjoyed this interview. Let us know. Give me some feedback. And I will see you on the next show. Thank you so much for listening. This is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar. Over and out. Hey, thanks very much for listening. You can sign up to get notified of future episodes on our website at everyonelovesguitar.com. Now go play your guitar and have fun. Till next time, I'm out. Peace. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.